On this episode of Kilts and Culture with USA Kilts, we got Scotch and we got Haggis. Hey boys and girls, welcome to USA Kilts Live. I'm Rocky, this is Eric. Today, you guys are in for a special treat. We have the Haggis. We're going to be taste testing a Haggis from our friends at Scottish Gourmet USA. Andrew and Ann are wonderful people. If you guys need a Haggis, go check them out. We're going to taste test it live on camera. We'll give you our honest opinion. We have not done this before. I've had Haggis on rare occasions. I think Mac has not had Haggis before. Adam, have you had Haggis? No, Adam's never had Haggis before. You have, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a mix of who has and who hasn't. But we do want to observe a few traditions. First tradition, when you're doing, ingesting haggis, is you must have an address to the haggis before you actually bring it in. It must be piped in, and you need scotch. So I want to start there. Today, we have Laphroaig 10-year scotch. This is probably my second or third favorite scotch. Lagavulin number 1, Laphroaig 18 and 10 are basically tied for second and third. This is a little bit more of a bite.
Yeah, super peaty.
Yes. If you would.
Sure.
Ooh.
The sacramental vessels.
The special, the highly coveted, the oft sought after USA Kilts Glencairn glasses.
I think you said that last month.
I say it every month.
Okay.
They are still being sought after.
Okay.
Here's one for you.
Whoa, I don't know where I'm going to put that. Okay.
Say where I'm going to put mine.
Yeah,
true. Well, we're going to have to bring in the haggis in a second.
Yeah, and remember, folks, we are kind of doing this in the confines of our little makeshift studio here, and so...
Our glorious television studio,
yes.
he means.
I mean, yeah, the glorious television studio. There is none better. So I'm glad you're amused.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Take a little sniff of that.
Yeah, pre-lubricate.
Exactly. All right, well, probably we shouldn't have, because now we've altered what we will taste with the haggis.
We have, actually. But at the same time, my throat, and just another caveat for you guys, I'm fighting a cold, so when I do the address, I'm going to be reading it, and I'm going to try my best, but very humbly, with proper contrition, because I am not native-born Scottish, and my accent may not be that great. So keep that in mind. The whiskey will help a little bit, though, so I don't mind having it now.
Okay, very good. And with that being said, Mr. Mac and Mr. Adam, would you pipe in the haggis? This is highly ceremonial.
Yeah, do we give commentary? No.
No, we'll just bring it in.
Whoa.
That looks
Put it on air.
lovely.
Not on my foot. Well,
Okay.
Yay. And thanks, Kelly, for lending us the dishes, by the way.
Yes. It smells great.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm biased because I like haggis, and I got to heat it up, so...
Yeah, no, you can smell the spices and the meat kind of flavor. Yeah.
There's something to that.
Yes, absolutely.
What I think we're going to need, just a little bit here. There.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you like that, I can tell you where I got it. Is that getting in the way?
Nah, you're fine.
All right. So, the address to the haggis as best as this poor boy can do. Faire, your honest, sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race. Aboon them all ye take your place, pinch, tripe, or threm, weel are ye worthy o' a grace as long as my arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill, your hurdies like a distant hill, your pin would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distill, like amber bead. His knife see the rustic labour decked, and cut ye up with ready sacked. There we go. Trenching your gushing entrails bricked like ony dict. And then, what a glorious sight. Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal take the hindmost, on they drive, till all their wheels swelled, heights belive, are bent like drums. Bent like drums. Drums. Then old Guilderman most like to rive. Bethanket, hums. Is there that o'er his French ragout, or olio that wad straw a sou, or fricassee what made her spew with perfect scunner, looks down with sneering, scornful view on sick a dinner. Poor deal. See him o'er his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shock, a good whiplash, his knees a knit. Through bloody flood and or field to dash, how unfit. But mark, the rustic, Haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread. Clap in his wally knee a blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sneed like taps or thistle. Ye powers, would make mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae stinking ware that droops in luggies. But if ye wish her grief of prayer, gie her a haggis.
Well done.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yes, golf clap for that. Golf
The
clap.
haggis.
Yes. All right. Now, we will...
I hope to do better next time. I felt very clumsy.
For your first time doing it, I would say you did better than I would have.
Well, thank you.
But I have a horrible fake Scottish accent. So, I will continue slicing open ye haggis.
The guts.
The guts, as it were. Leave that.
Gee, Rocky, what is a haggis made of?
Do you have the label? Because I do not.
I don't have the label handy, but I know that for this one, in order to make sure that it is perfectly kosher, haggis, for the American food laws, he uses lamb and some beef liver, if I recall correctly, as opposed to the original ingredients, which would be the
Mr. Adam?
I forget it. It's called the pluck. And the pluck basically consists of the sheep's lungs and heart, and sometimes the liver and kidneys, always kidneys. So basically it's what you call offal. It was the organ meats that basically were more perishable. And a haggis was actually a common kind of food throughout Europe. It was a way of making use of the entirety of your farm animals. Or if you're out hunting, it was a way of cooking up the organ meat very quickly, so you didn't have to worry about transporting it back home, and it going bad in the process. Whereas other meats you could salt or, keep preserved on the way home. The organ meats you want to cook right there on the site. So
Lovely. All right.
Works for me.
Now the aroma. What do you think? Mac? You've had some very obscure foods before.
Yeah, I've had hog maw, which is pig stomach, so that's very on the same lines here.
Smell-wise, or?
Well, no, I mean, just as far as kind of what's
What it is.
involved
Right.
with the inside.
Now this one particularly won't be like, sheep stomach and, liver and
right.
heart and lungs and that kind of stuff. Well, there's a tiny bit of liver. But this one's more for the American market, so the organ meats aren't going to be in there. But
So I definitely get more onion smell, and I think me and
Yeah.
Eric talked about this as he was cooking it. It definitely has that. I think it has more of that smell to it.
yeah,
Yeah, the onion is really the strongest
yeah.
of the aromas in it.
Not overpowering, but it's it's there. It smell a little bit of the spices with it as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Typical spices would be black pepper is pretty much the most common spice. Other spices could be like nutmeg, and occasionally sage, and what was the other one? I forget. Clove sometimes. Those spices were common throughout the Middle Ages, so it was basically what they had.
I'm going to hold my plate up to the camera a little bit, and hopefully it won't slide off. give you guys a good view of actually what haggis looks like outside of the casing.
So you've got oats.
Yeah, oats.
And onion.
Yep. All right, let's taste it. Okay. It's like fall aparty kind of consistency. It's not like a meatloaf where it's all baked and real tight and baked into itself, but it falls apart a little bit. I'm assuming because of the oats and stuff like that.
Oats is usually a binder, but he's used. It looks like he's used steel cut oats, which still have a lot of the husk in them. They're not broken up, so you're more of a crunch. There's a little bit of a crunch from it.
Yeah.
Which I like. But yeah, you're basically tasting typical ingredients. Traditional ingredients would be the pluck, like we were saying. So the heart, liver, and lungs, minced up with onion, oatmeal, suet as a bind, as an extra fat, and the spices and the salt, and a little bit of stock to help cook it down before you're actually putting in the casing.
Yeah, it's very like thick. It leaves not in a negative way, but it leaves like a little bit of a film on your mouth. That's like the suet kind of fattiness.
Yep. And this is meant to be a power food. I mean, this was in addition to being practical. Well, I mean, it's practical in a number of ways. One, you're using up all the stuff you got on the farm. Two, it's a punch. I mean, this is a lot of fuel. You could really go out and do a hell of a lot of hard work.
Is there a market for like a haggis flavored power bar, perhaps?
I did. What do you think, Adam?
I'm vaguely disappointed in a way because I don't know. There's all the haggis and your discussion over the week, like trying to find something to liken it to, and I think coming to meatloaf, and yeah, it tastes like a slightly different meatloaf.
I will say this.
Scrapple and meatloaf, I'd say.
I will say this. This is a very mild haggis. I've had haggis with a lot stronger spice, and especially I know he uses some red pepper in his, and I'm getting a little bit of the heat, a little bit of the zing from it. But I've had some with a lot of black pepper. It's a lot sharper and just a stronger, spicier flavor. So I would say if you try making one at home, if you're like me, go for broke on the spices. If the recommended recipe you find and are interested in online, of which there are several, calls for X number of spices, I'd bump it up. I'd kick it up several notches just because, I just like it. But I've had other medieval foods.
Yeah, you also love Indian food, so you love spiciness. Like, I don't like spicy food, so this is more of my, hot dog and hamburger kind of palate.
But there's a definite profile to European spices as opposed to Indian spices. There's like I said, this is very classic. I mean, what we're tasting now, it's a little mild for my taste, but this is basically the same kind of flavor that people 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago were accustomed to. It'd be less spicy the further back in time you go because spices were harder to get. But yeah.
I have a general rule about food, whether it's spicy food or like hot peppers and stuff like that. Food shouldn't hurt. So I don't eat spicy food. I don't eat hot food. I don't eat, suicide wings. No. Nope. This is about as close as I'm going to get to my food and ingredients hurting me.
Here's the next question, though. What do you think of the pairing of the whiskey with this haggis?
I haven't paired it much yet, so give me a sec.
We are missing our neeps and tatties, which are basically potatoes and rutabaga.
There was no room, nor time, nor kitchen facilities to cook a full meal, including the haggis. So we just did the haggis itself. I would say I'm going to go against my own better judgment and say the following. I would actually probably prefer like a Highland Scotch without the meat and smoke, just kind of the smooth, honeyish kind of flavor.
So you have
to balance this more than the punch that is Laphroaig, which I love, but it's very, very strong, peaty, smoky flavor, which kind of is competing with the spices and stuff in it. I'd rather just like a mild honey kind of Scotch.
See,
Highland.
I could go both ways. The basically, I see what you're saying totally, and if I made a haggis at home and made it as peppery as I would like, I'd go with what you're saying. But For this one, since it's a milder haggis, I'm actually liking the peatiness of the whiskey. What do you guys think?
Some of the comments we've been getting in said
I'm having some more. Do you mind if I use my own spoon?
About not having such a peaty whiskey with this. So it's some.
Oh, nice.
Some have been saying that. But to me, I agree with Eric. I'd like a little bit more spice with it. I think it's a little bit mild in that fact. I was on the lines of, after tasting it here, it's more on the lines for me like a stroganoff taste. Like it has more of that.
I think it's the onion.
Than more so than like a meatloaf. Now, I don't know the origins of this, and I don't know if there's a connection. Would this be part of like a shepherd's pie, like the early forms?
Similar,
because I can easily see doing a shepherd's pie with this.
Again,
meat.
the flavorings that they had to work with in Northern Europe for a lot of time really did not. It was not that wide of a variety. So, similar spices you'd use for meats for making a shepherd's pie, you'd have in this. So you get a similar profile, and above all, the onion, of course. You're gonna get that. Yeah. My other favorite thing is about haggis is that it's similar to, or its origins are similar to something called numble pie. Which is more English, but it was used the numbles. That's where the expression humble pie comes from, because numble pie was basically the offal being used to make a meal for the lower class people and the servants, especially for Christmas. Everybody else got the good parts of the venison for Christmas dinner, and the servants downstairs got the offal, and they cooked it into a pie. And so, again, it's that using everything you can because you need to eat,
right?
All right. But yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, Mac. Yeah, absolutely.
Are we allowed to take home leftovers?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yep. I smashed find Eric for it.
I was gonna say, yeah, I got the skin too.
I was gonna say it's like a meal I grew up eating is what it feels like. It's just.
Now, what if we were to mix?
It's comfort food.
I
agree.
It's delicious.
Speaking of comfort food, what if we were to mix, like, my little invention? I have, like, my wife's family is half Scottish, half Polish, and I wanted to combine them, so I made what I've termed shepherd's pierogies, where we actually put seasoned ground beef inside with mashed potatoes and a cheese, and then made a pierogi. We could make a haggis pierogi. I could see those two pairing reasonably well.
Yeah, it's a filling. You could put it in anything. Yeah, like a pasta or another thing that people don't always realize about pies was that a lot of time, like in the 18th century and even up to the 19th century, the crust was not something you ate. It was just a container to keep the insides away from, basically keep it preserved. It was a preservative method. So yeah, pies and pierogies and things like that is basically pasties. There's a debate sometimes as to whether you actually are supposed to eat the crust of a pasty, or they do now and they have for 100 years, but did they originally? They may not have. It may have just been a way to make sure you got your lunch safely packaged.
Like a sandwich.
Yeah. Or not even a sandwich, more like a
portable thing.
Yeah. It's like the wrapper for your.
Yeah. You can eat the wrapper. It's the same thing with the sandwich.
Exactly.
It's just until the early sandwich.
I could see doing that. Yeah.
We should
I could see baking this into a pie.
We should do Cornish pasties or something for one of the.
I'd be happy to.
Food tests.
My wife makes a really mean Cornish pasty, actually.
Okay.
Not to promise your services, Jen, but yeah, she does a really good pasty.
I'm kind of liking the direction of our show. I've just decided that we are going to, on work time and work hours, and with work finances, just get fat and drink scotch. That is now what I've decided our new business model will be. Forget Facebook Live. We're just going to do this every day. Actually, we'll do it on Facebook Live. We'll just have you guys tune in and watch us eat and drink. Mm-hmm. This sounds like a horrible plan. So
I'm liking it. I'm good with it.
Let's go. Let's ask my accountant.
Any questions coming in about the haggis, or
No, there's lots of comments of people who are looking forward to Burns suppers coming up.
Absolutely.
And one comment just came in from Paul. It said, "Make it into a ravioli with mustard sauce."
Maybe. Yeah.
The mustard. I think the mustard sauce itself, I think would throw it off.
There is a haggis sauce. I can't remember what goes into it, but I'm sure
I could
somebody
see
else
it in a ravioli with cheese or something like that. But adding more spices that are a different profile would kind of take a hard left turn for me. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I'd want to do more like a classic gravy.
This one with the way the spices are
Again, because it's mild, you could.
Yeah, I think it
Like I
would
was saying
help
about the
this
whiskey.
one. But I was going to bring a bottle of HP sauce along this morning, but I forgot to bring it.
The idea we had earlier in the week, which is totally, we're going to Americanize this, is deep fry it.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, roll it in something and deep fry it. Deep fried haggis balls.
We did have a comment say about Patrick.
Really?
Had deep fried haggis balls
Nice.
and a haggis burger in Edinburgh.
Haggis burgers I've heard about. Yep.
Well, I can imagine it's in Edinburgh. They freaking deep fry everything, including candy bars.
Yep.
It's
Yep. I think the trick is to make sure your haggis is thick enough to stand up to being compressed into a patty or a ball or whatever. This one is a little on the crumbly side. It's a great haggis. Don't get me wrong. And the other thing
I'm
I'll
actually
say,
impressed. I am impressed with it.
And the other thing I'll say about Scottish Gourmet with this haggis is remember that a lot of what they do is for haggises that can be used for presentation purposes. And if you're presenting a haggis to a large room full of people, you're going to want the spices to be a little on the mild side so that you don't freak anybody out and people are like, it's so peppery.
It's the lowest common denominator kind of rule.
Right.
It's you want to have
make sure everybody
the
has a good
least
time.
spice-liking person in the room enjoys it as well as other people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
No, very, very good. Overall,
That was nice.
all right. Scale of 1 to 10. As far as a normal food, not an ethnic food, not an oddity. A scale of 1 to 10 as far as would you order this at a restaurant? Would you, or serve it at home? Adam, we'll start with the novice. Never had it before.
Like I said, I feel like this is a meal I grew up eating. I really do. I feel like the taste in general, I feel like I've had it 1,000 times already and could go home tonight and with like some mashed potatoes go at it again. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's your tatties there. Yeah.
Yep. Mac.
Oh, yeah, I've had very similar things. Like I said, this one reminds you of stroganoff, and I've made hog maw, I've eaten beef heart, tongue. For me, it's nothing new. It's sure, let's have it. Mashed potatoes, like Adam said. Even throw some parsnips in there. Let's make it a party.
Parsnips are great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I would totally. It's a 10 out of 10 as far as a general food is concerned. To me, like I said, it's a comfort food.
Yeah.
Like kind of like what Adam was saying. I feel like it's a comfort
hearty.
food.
It's a meal in and of itself.
In terms of this particular haggis specifically compared to other haggis I've had, I give it like maybe a 7.
Okay.
Again, because I'd like mine a little spicier.
Okay.
But I really like his use of the oats. It's really nice and the crunch is really good. It's not if you use like regular rolled oats or something, it's going to wind up being kind of mushy.
Gives it a better texture.
Yeah. This is a very nice texture.
I would, and I'm not just kissing up because I like Andrew. And as far as the haggises that I've actually had before, I honestly would probably say this is the best.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like spice all that much. This is spicy but mild. And the haggis that I've had at like St. Andrew's dinners down in Philly, they're generally a lot grainier. And they kind of crumble, they fall apart a little bit more. So it's more like a bowl of cereal. No,
Yeah.
but it falls apart more than this is kind of it sticks together. You could if I patted this, I could actually make a meatball versus something that would just kind of fall apart. So I would go out on a limb and say this is probably the best haggis I've had.
Cool.
So there you go.
Okay.
Again, quick plug for them: ScottishGourmetUSA.com. Andrew and Ann are wonderful people. They make great haggis, one of the biggest haggis suppliers in the U.S.
Yeah.
And they ship all over the place. So check them out. Tell them that Rocky and Eric from USA Kilts sent you.
They have a lot more than just haggis, too. They have a whole catalog of stuff. So, great breakfast foods, too, like black pudding and everything. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Mac, one more question before we remove the haggis?
Question on the haggis. Carl's asking about the size. Is it typically that size? Is it typically bigger, smaller?
This is a 5-pound haggis. We asked Andrew, we talked about him, told him we were going to be doing the video, and he didn't have any 2-pound haggises. This is a 5-pound haggis, so this is actually pretty big. This would feed, it depends on how much you're actually going to eat of it. This could easily feed, I think we each got about a regular size portion. And if you had vegetables and potatoes and other stuff as well, this could easily feed 10 people.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a half-pound burger,
8
that's,
to 10.
5 pounds, that's, half pound each. to 10 people. But yeah, they make smaller sizes, 1 pound haggis, 2 pound haggis. This is the presentation casing, so you get
Wait,
to,
is that the
cut into it.
presentation?
Yeah, this is the
I
presentation.
thought there was one
casing.
even larger than this.
No,
So
this
it-
is the. I think
this
this
is
is the
the
larger
biggest?
one. It's the presentation
Okay.
casing
Okay.
that
okay.
sets it
Okay.
apart. They have a 2 pound and a 5 pound with the casing on it.
Okay.
Most people aren't eating a huge haggis meal. There's a lot of other stuff and pomp and circumstance that kind of goes along with it. So yeah, but it's good stuff. Absolutely.
Cool.
All right, Mr. Adam, would
Yep.
you
If you
remove
don't mind.
the haggis?
Thank you very much.
And Eric, you want to grab your scotch off the table?
Already did.
We'll do our last little.
I thought you meant get it off the table. Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Get it off the table and
Yep.
Slanjava.
Sanjava. I'm not downing it. I'm saving some for later.
I got the bottle over here, so I'm good for later. And now coffee with my scotch. I am not good at mixing things. Oof.
This is
So haggis and scotch and coffee and breath mints.
all right. Do we have any general questions coming in yet?
We've got a few. Eric's asking about men's kilt boots, meaning calf-high boots.
Okay.
Good or bad? If so, good. Do you wear kilt hose with the boots? Yes or no?
Super tall, like what up to below the knee.
Yeah.
Those kind of boots. Okay. Mostly a renn faire kind of a thing. The manufacturer does make a difference. If you want a good pair, you will pay for them. I have a friend who had from it's a Catskill, I think
Catskill
it is.
moccasins.
Yeah, Catskill moccasins. For years, that was the only pair of shoes she wore. Period. And when they wore out, she went and got another pair made. Basically, she had them for like 10 years or something like that. Something ridiculous, like 10, 15 years
Nice.
every single day. But you're paying like $1,000 for a pair of those boots. I know there are more. They were some of the first companies. Them and there's a company called Son of Sandler, who also make very good Renaissance type boots like that. And again, very good quality. I have a pair of short ones, which not for kilting but for other outfits, and I paid like $500 for those. Yeah, but they're again custom built and whatever specs you want. Not cheap, but very good quality material, so they'll last. So yeah, I know there's some knockoffs out there which are more affordable. How those fare, how long they last, I don't know. Will any of them look good with a modern kilt? Yeah, sure. A tall boots, we always say, whether we're talking about work boots or combat boots or those, the taller the shoe, very often the better it looks with a kilt. Obviously, it's a casual, contemporary look, not a formal Highland dress kind of a look. And I would say the kilt hose, you don't really need them. You're not going to see them at all. I mean, you could use them without turning the cuff down, use them as kind of padding, I suppose. But I think most people just wear some, athletic socks or hiking socks inside those. Because you're not going to see, they're so tall, you're not going to see any of the kilt toe at the top anyway.
I'm not as big of a fan of them as you are.
Well, you're not in the renn faire scenery of that either, so.
True. To me, they're more fantastical.
Yeah.
Or renn faire.
Oh yeah, they're Farby.
Like.
They're definitely
Yeah.
Farby. They're not actually historical.
Yeah. So in that context, I wouldn't wear them, but I would expect to see them more for just daily wear, out and about kind of thing. Give me a pair of grinders, a pair of Doc Martens, a pair of cop boots. I would wear that any day of the week over a pair of knee-high kind of boots.
Yeah.
Now with a pair of 10-hole Doc Martens or grinders or whatever. A pair of kilt hose can be worn with them because that would stick out. The kilt hose should be about 3 or 4 fingers breadth below the bottom of your kneecap. So tuck your index finger underneath your kneecap, and then your kilt hose should start right around the bottom finger. For the type of boots you were talking about, they would actually come almost up to the knee.
Yeah.
So it would cover the entire sock.
Right.
For a pair of Docs, that would come up about a third the way up your calf. So the kilt hose still, you would have 6-8 inches sticking out above the top of the boots. In that case, sure, wear a pair of kilt hose, wear a pair of flash. Don't wear flash, just scrunch down the kilt hose.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
So it's a bit of a personal preference, personal style. But again, your mileage may vary. It really depends on what you want to do. Like, just between us, he would like those boots. I wouldn't. We both like the police boots kind of thing, or
Yeah.
Doc Martens,
Yep.
and that would work for either of us. But there may be people who don't like that look and just want to wear a pair of wingtips or brogues. So yeah, again, your mileage may vary, but that's kind of where we land on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool, Mr. Mac.
Liam is asking, do they make piper spats big for people who have large calves?
Do they make them? Sure. I don't know who they is. I've seen them before. We don't have access to them. Well, we kind of do and we kind of don't. Most of the spats that are available in the market are just standard. One size fits a particular shoe size pair of spats. For guys with really, really big calves, you're kind of stuck. The first thing that if you're real close, like it doesn't quite fit, we've had people actually use a strip of white canvas and actually just make a little jumper from the scratchy Velcro to the soft Velcro and just kind of span that little bit of a gap. The problem there is that the line in the back of the leg is going to be a little bit towards the inside. Right. Now, the other alternative is having spats custom made. There's only one company I know of that custom makes spats, so it can be done. That being said, you're taking a pair of spats that are normally $50-ish kind of retail and going up to $100, $120 retail. So there is a much bigger, cost differential when you move into something custom like that.
Mm-hmm. Are they better quality though? I mean, is it a better investment than just buying regular ones?
Yes, depends on how often you're going to wear it and how comfortable you are spending it, and what's good enough. If you're going to wear it with a pipe band and they wear their military dress kind of outfit twice a year, just get the jumper, or just make a jumper. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be wearing it once a month or once every couple weeks to parades and stuff like that, then you might want to spend the money and get the right stuff.
Now we're talking about canvas.
Correct.
Spats, not leather.
Correct.
Right? How often do people use leather spats anymore?
I have never seen anyone wear leather spats.
Okay.
One thing I actually thought of years ago, it's an idea in my head. A lot of pipe bands buy spats, and 99.999% of the time they're just white. So white canvas. And the reason they replace them is because they're down by the ground and they get dirty and muddy.
Right.
And they have to bleach them, which actually shortens the lifespan of the spats.
Yep.
So one thing I thought of, which our two spat suppliers kind of poo-pooed the idea, but I still think it's nice, is getting like a patent leather or patent material that's just, a shiny, plasticky kind of finish. So you can just literally hose them off or clean them off.
I could have sworn those existed.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Wow. Huh.
So, if you have any budding entrepreneurs out there who want to start a business, there's a huge market, and I am completely exaggerating, for spats that you can just hose off.
Ultra spats.
There you go. Business idea, you're welcome.
Mega spats. The ultimate in spat experience.
Rainwear spats.
Anything else, Mac?
Well, to go along the same lines of the pipe bands, Liam is also asking about the feather bonnet. Where can you get one? How many tails does it have?
Sure. We actually sell feather bonnets. Feather bonnets are very, very expensive. Generally, they're like $400 or $500. They come in 4-tail or 5-tail. They come in different types of dicing, which is the band that goes around the head. They come in different sizes, specifically sized to your head, although most have a little bit of a tie in the for a minor adjustment. They're typically only worn by pipe bands. Height-wise, they're about a foot they add about a foot or so to the top of the head, so short guys love them. You would wear a hackle, but a tall, a 12-inch, I believe it is, hackle on the side for that. But yeah, we do carry feather bonnets, but they are pretty expensive. There's 3, I believe, manufacturers of feather bonnets in the UK that I'm aware of. And most just do them effectively for the military and for military-style bands.
How many bands do we have that standardize on them?
A lot of the bands that wear them don't standardize on it. They will say, okay, this is our formal gear for military, for funerals, for
winter, maybe? Is it like a winter versus summer kind of a thing?
I don't think it's winter versus summer. Okay. It's more the level of what they're doing. If they're wearing a military doublet, then a feather bonnet would be appropriate. If they're just going to wear a sweater or a military-style shirt, a feather bonnet would be a bit much.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the police and fire bands will wear them. I think Camden County Emerald Society over in New Jersey, they wear them.
That's what I was thinking of.
So, yeah, there's a few bands that wear them still, but they are very, very costly, so it's kind of a bit of an extravagance for a lot of bands. If you're going to start a band or you're in a band, a lot of guys just get, a military doublet, then the piper's played, then, the crossbelt, and then a feather bonnet.
Or the pipe major by himself might have one.
Yeah, that's fair. A drum major or whatever.
Drum major, might be the only one that has one.
Yeah.
I would say that
This is the mace, by the way.
I got that.
That's my hand signal for mace.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what that is.
I need more scotch.
I'm not sure you do. I would say that it could be a possible investment if you're a solo piper, and as we've said before, having some unique looks is a really good way to market yourself for solo gigs. I haven't seen it so much on this side of the pond, but I see photographs of weddings over in Scotland, and a lot of time the piper for the wedding is in full military regalia with the feather bonnet. So it could be a really cool, perk. So you look really awesome if you're the center of attention for a ceremony like that.
Right.
So if you're willing to make the investment, write off on your taxes.
Mr. Mack, any more?
Yeah, we've actually got quite a few come rolling in.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Kieran all the way from Scotland has a question about gold chains, sporran chains. Do we have them? Can we get them? They just got a Galway kilt and love it, but they can't find the gold chain that they're looking for.
Right. Gold or gilt finish, as it's also known, is not that popular. You can get it. Yes, it's not necessarily more expensive. There aren't a lot of people looking for it. When it comes to kilt accessories, the buckles on the kilt are generally chrome. They are shiny chrome buckles. Kilt pins are generally, chrome, or they're, a silver kind of metal. The cantle on the sporran, the studs on a sporran. Well, I don't have studs on this one. Studs on a sporran, the accessories, the buttons on a Prince Charlie are all going to be silver, so there's not a ton of call for a gilt finish on stuff. That being said, it can be done. It's a bit rare. Yes, you can have it done. Drop us an email. We can happily look one up for you. We have a few different sporran suppliers. They have different finishes on their sporrans. The Welsh sporrans we carry, for instance, mix the gold and the silver color. So I think we may actually even have a few in stock. I don't know if I have to check. Well, you're not in the warehouse, Mac. No. You're a kilt maker, but you're not Lucas.
No.
Normally Lucas is there.
I will say that brass gilt accessories can look very good with a tweed set for smart day wear. And it's a very vintage look. There are more Edwardian and Victorian looks where you had a brass bronze gilt kind of a look on the sporran, and having a chain in that would work for that. I wouldn't use it for evening wear necessarily personally, because then I'd feel like I'd have to have a custom jacket and everything to make sure all the metals were the same, like you were just saying. But as a little bit of a spark for a more earth tone outfit, like a tweed outfit for day, it could look really cool. So I don't fault him at all for wanting it. I think it's he's definitely looking for a nice way to differentiate there.
What I would do is, if you're going to do something gold finished, try to find something like the Welsh stuff that has both gold and silver, and mix and match all of the metals in the outfit. That way it won't look odd if you have just a gold kilt chain or a sporran chain and silver buttons on the jacket, silver cantle on the sporran. Try to mix and match some of the metals across the outfit so it's a more uniform mix and matchy kind of look versus just a single, just a one element piece.
Yeah, I'm thinking just brass on the sporran and then horn, antler buttons, and that's it. But
yeah, very good.
Hope that helps.
We do have two sporran questions here, since we're already on the sporran subject. Chad's asking, is a hunting sporran considered a semi-dress, or would you consider that more day wear?
A hunting sporran is kind of its own thing. A hunting sporran, for those that don't know, are an oval shape, generally full leather sporran. So it has the shape of a dress sporran, but it's just basically all leather. And instead of tassels, it has 5 leaves that kind of stick down the bottom, and they're actually sewn or riveted to the front of the sporran. About 10 years ago now, I actually contacted our sporran maker over in Scotland because they did a hunting sporran that I thought was pretty cool. But I said, look, Greg, I want to dress this up a little bit. Can you put bovine or cow fur, on the bottom of the hunting sporran and kind of, effectively, kick it up a notch to quote Emerald. So a hunting sporran is kind of its own thing. If it is full leather, it kind of lends itself more towards day wear or smart day wear, right. A tweed vest, tweed jacket, that kind of thing. When I designed, and I'm fully taking credit for this because I actually did. I am the one who told my guy to do it. He now offers it as a standard sporran. When I said to Greg, look, I want to dress it up a little bit, add the fur to it. It gave it more of a semi-dress kind of look, so you could get away with it with like an Argyll or something like that. I don't know if I'd necessarily wear it with a PC, a Prince Charlie jacket and vest, but yeah, you can dress up a hunting sporran a little bit, and I'd kind of consider it based on the materials of it. If it is full leather, I would, again, compare it to a day sporran. If it's leather and fur, then you can kind of slide it up the scale a little bit towards more of a semi-dress. But all in all, a hunting sporran is its own thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Mac.
Another question about the sporrans, and is someone's asking, Jack is asking, best option for carrying a concealed weapon. I know this has been a topic back and forth.
Sure.
But is there sporrans out there specifically geared that way, or is there other options that they could use?
Sure.
It's been tried.
Yeah. Concealed carry sporrans, they don't really exist. We actually designed something that never got off the ground. A semi-dress and a dress sporran with a third pouch effectively on the back for just a quick thumb flip, and it falls forward and then pull out. The main issue with a concealed carry sporran is the access to it. It's not like it's small back carry or kidney carry kind of thing. It's or leg carry or ankle carry. You're really limited by your access to the weapon. And when you're in a situation when you need to use a weapon, if there's someone standing in front of you with a gun pointed at you, it's difficult to get access to it, pull it out, and aim down on the person without them just pulling the trigger. So it's not necessarily a great idea for a sporran. The guys that I know that carry in a kilt generally either use smaller back carry, or they'll use a thigh holster kind of thing to minimize the print, and the pleats kind of help cover that up a little bit. There's not a great place to hide it when you're in a kilt outfit. The other thing I would say is a shoulder harness or inside the vest or inside the jacket kind of thing. That would maybe minimize your print, but outside of that, it's not a great option to carry in the sporran. That being said, if you're going to carry in a sporran, then the question you want to ask for the company you're buying the sporran from is, what is the capacity of the sporran? What is the gusset depth? What is the front panel to back panel depth to actually get something in there? You're going to want to carry something with a single stack, so it's not dual stack wide kind of thing. You want to minimize the size of the weapon in the sporran, period. I think I've kind of gone into a good bit of detail there for him.
Maybe more than he wanted. I'm betting that he wants it for more casual occasions and day wear, so he wouldn't necessarily have a vest or a jacket on when he's doing it. Yeah. I know some people have modified tactical pouches of various kinds to try and do this kind of thing, but then you're losing kind of that Celtic aesthetic. So,
yeah,
I mean, if you want nylon fanny pack kind of a thing as your sporran, then you might find an option out there that you can hack together. The weight was the other issue I remember, was that by the time you built a leather sporran with the capacity for the piece as well as the other stuff you want to carry, it wound up being really heavy, and it's a lot of weight in your front and coming off your lower back because of the way the sporran sits. So that was the other criticism I remember.
Yeah, I remember
designing
trying to carry with my sporran or putting any kind of weight in my sporran. It would actually end up hurting my back, and I had a bit of a bad back at the time anyway. The other thing it would come down to is the size of the weapon. Like if you're carrying a full, 45, it's not really going to fit well in the sporran. If you have like a 380 or a smaller caliber weapon, something that is a smaller, footprint, you can carry that inside the sporran as well as other stuff. The other thing to consider, if you are going to carry inside of a sporran, is when you go somewhere and have to pull out your wallet, you're also exposing your weapon. So, it's if you open it up and you go in to take out your money, your weapon is there as well. So just be aware of that, thought process same time.
Remember, kids, don't expose your weapon to people. Adam, did you have a comment? It almost looked like you had something to add to this.
I was just going to say, one thing I've been able to do, not carrying a weapon, but to organize the inside of my sporran, I've been able to put loop Velcro on the back of the sporran, and I know there are, for those who do holsters and bags, there's a lot of hook and loop stuff.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so if you want to do something without getting into leather work and whatnot, you can throw some loop back there, find an appropriate holster, and like you guys said, keep it small, because for so many reasons.
I see that as a potential hack. Personally, I think it'd be uncomfortable as hell.
Ultimately, it's you're fighting between the depth of the weapon in the sporran, the physical depth of it laying against the back panel of the sporran, and your wallet.
Yeah.
So if your
wallet, phone, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to ultimately you should have access to the weapon quickly. It doesn't make sense to bury it down there. In that case, why carry it? So you need access to something as well as the wallet, and you don't want to have to pull out your gun and put it on the counter every time you want to pull out your wallet.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Hands up at every convenience store. So it takes a little bit of juggling around in the sporran, and you may want to find a different place to carry it. The difficulty comes in the fact that ultimately, for the most part, you're tucking your shirt in when you wear a kilt. So if you had to kidney carry or something like that, then you might want to just wear a sweater or something where it can be over top of, anything. Cool. Yeah. Next, Mr. Mac.
All right, so now we're going to move to flashes. We got a couple questions on flashes. Cameron's asking, match flashes, do they have to be a certain or a particular part of the tartan, or is it up to the wearer to choose? The second part of that is, do they have to be the exact same? Can they be different parts of the tartan, or one can be this tartan and one can be another tartan? Like, can each flag be different?
I'm tempted to have Mac answer this question.
And then, or can they be on the bias, or is this frowned upon?
I've seen tartans done on the bias. To me, they kind of look sloppy. You're taking the kilt itself is very gridular, using my favorite word I make up.
Yep.
A very horizontal and vertical cross line kilt, and then you're taking an diagonal flashes. It looks kind of sloppy to me. I've never seen them done well on the bias. Generally, when you're wearing flashes, you're wearing the same fabric as the kilt. You don't want to wear a different tartan for the flashes. So you don't want to wear a MacDonald Ancient set of flashes and a Stuart modern kilt. It just you're mixing and matching things, similar to the way that you wouldn't wear a Stuart kilt pin with a MacDonald kilt. It's just not done, as they say. Americans might do it just to try to, blend in all the family stuff, but it's not typically done traditionally. For the flashes themselves, generally there are two flags kind of hanging down the outside of the leg, and most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, both flags, if you will, are the same section of tartan, and then they either have a chevron cut, a little V-notch in the bottom of them, or one or two companies actually just does a solid straight cut at the bottom and fringes them a little bit. I've seen, I believe, one company over in Scotland does one flash, different than the other. So even if it's like Royal Stuart, it may be like the red block section and then the white stripe section on the other. Still Royal Stuart tartan, but two different parts of the tartan on either of the flags. I don't really like that myself.
Yeah, it sounds a little.
Yeah, it sounds
weird.
it's a bit off to me. It's just because I'm so used to seeing it. They should both be the same. They should both have a V-notch, and they should both be about 6 inches tall, with a tuck underneath, so you see about that much of the flashes underneath. It's kind of, this is how it's done. What do you don't do anything different? Stop. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Mac, do you have a?
No, I just kind of going with Rocky saying that if the one is different, or if it advances in the pattern at all, it would just look really. And to me, it would look too wide. With it being the same thing down each one, I think it looks slimmer. But when you make that whole thing now, it
would look
an
like
inch
a
and
really
half,
wide flash.
Yeah, it would look.
You'd almost have to have a gap between the two flags.
You can tell it's
to
not
be
just
able,
like a
chunk.
fabric that you put there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And continuing on with the flashes, Derek's asking, old style garter ties or elastic flashes, and the reason one is preferred over the other one, other than the ease of use. I'm assuming he's meaning for the elastic ones.
No, just personal preference. Some people like tartan flashes. Some people like solid color flashes. The British military use solid color flashes. They don't use tartan ones. The garter ties, what he's referring to, for those that don't know, are basically a 24-inch-ish strip of knitted yarn, and then on the end are some bushy kind of tassels, for lack of a better term. You wrap it around your calf, do a half knot, pull it snug, and then fold your hose tops down over top of that, and just kind of let the little pom-poms kind of stick out underneath the bottom. Several of the guys here love them. Adam's actually wearing a pair right now. I'm not a huge fan myself, but I can appreciate them for what they are. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just personal preference. It's the garter ties are kind of look similar to a set of solid color flashes, unless you're physically looking at them and you can see tiny, strings and bobblies hanging down.
I would say that the forgive me for interrupting. I'd say the garter ties have a more antique look. If you're going for a more vintage look, they're very good for that. Some people consider them a bit more comfortable because of how you can adjust them. A little bit more on the fly, whereas with the elastic you have to take it apart and then adjust the hooks and everything, the slider on it to tighten or loosen.
Once you have it set, though, it's
the elastic is obviously more convenient. It's faster to put on and take off, and it's definitely a more military look. My impression is that flashes, as we're used to them, especially with the elastic, was an invention of the military. It was a military convention to make sure everybody had the same equipment. It was standardized, easy to maintain, efficient. Whereas garter ties were more the civilian thing that predated that. That's something I would want to confirm. It's not an area I've really researched specifically, but I think if from an aesthetic standpoint, that would be the one thing to consider. If you wanted a more crisp military look, I'd stick with the flashes. If you want a more civilian, vintage look, then go with the ties.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else?
While we're down at flash level,
Down at the flashes.
David has a question on skin dews. He saw the cutting of the haggis there, and was wondering if the skin dews have a good edge, or was that just way easy to cut?
It was way easy to cut, but it depends on the skin dew otherwise. Usually they're sold with a blade you can sharpen. It's not necessarily a super quality blade. It will hold an edge, but it's like a stainless blade, or sometimes occasionally they're chromed. It's not amazing. They're more for show than for blow. You can get some skin dews which are definitely meant to be a sidearm utility knife, as they were back in the day. We do carry a few like that. There's a Damascus one, for instance. There's a one with a good sharp stainless steel blade that we carry. It's called the Officer's Skin Dew. Look at them at the website if you want to. That's basically it. Yeah, it's
they're more ceremonial, akin to like a letter opener, than they are generally to a functional utility knife. You don't generally carry around a dress. You don't need a weapon when you're actually at a black tie affair, or you shouldn't.
depends on who's hosting. Depends
on how much you drank.
Right.
But you shouldn't need a weapon at a black tie affair. So a lot of the skin dews that are, formal black, black skin dews, dress skin dews, are going to be just not a super sharp blade, more like a letter opener kind of thing. There are, as Eric alluded to, there are a few that are a little bit sharper, a little bit better quality blades, but there's not a lot of them out there in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. There is a weird kind of craft movement, if you will, for custom skin dews and better quality skin dews from individual blade makers. So if you're looking for something special, custom, that kind of thing, there's two issues. Number one, it's not gonna be stock. You're gonna have to have it made for you. And number two, it's generally gonna be a lot more expensive and take a lot more time. Mm-hmm. The skin dews that we carry range from like $50 to about $100 or so. Most custom skin dews or higher end skin dews are gonna be $300 to $300, that kind of price range for a small knife. Now, if you love knives and you have to have a functional knife and you're a knife guy, then that's fine. That may be worth it to you. Most people are just getting a skin dew for a little bit of bling to stick in their sock for a nice formal kind of, function, that kind of thing. So it's really up to you. You have to decide, A, how much you want to invest, how much you're actually going to use it, and you have to come to a decision on that.
There is a range out there, but you have to decide what you're going to use it for.
Now, we don't carry the custom stuff and the high-end stuff because generally the individual artisans that actually make the high-end knives don't wholesale. So for us to buy it and then mark it up and retail it, it would be a lot more than $300. So it's one of those where there's such a small market for it that I would prefer as a business to just kind of pass our customers who want something like that directly along to some of those versus trying to make money off of it where there's not really any room because it would just be way too expensive already.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can buy some skin dew blades out there, which are mass produced, like places like Atlanta Cutlery. I don't know if they're really any good. See what people say online. If you're looking for a knife maker, I can tell you that they do come up occasionally in discussion on like our Facebook group, Kilts and Culture. Occasionally people will show off a skin dew which they've had custom made by a knife smith, and there's some gorgeous stuff out there. It's if you're into it, it's kind of like getting a really good tattoo. It's worth the investment. It's a piece of art, and it's something you're going to have forever and ever. If you want a utilitarian skin dew, you might consider getting a blade and turning your own handle for it, or get one of the utilitarian ones like we have, like the officers, because they're meant for daily wear. Or if you're like a certain guy named Lucas, I know, you can wear a box cutter when you're working in the warehouse. The old box cutter skin dew.
And before anyone asks, for those who want to know who to contact for that kind of thing, send an email to sales@usakilts.com, and we'll try to send you to some of the more reputable skin dew makers.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else, Mac?
We're going to go back to flashes here a second. I missed this one from Reverend Abbott.
Again with the flashes.
For formal wear, with a PC, are flashes required or are they optional? He was wanting to wear a black watch weathered kilt, but the only flashes he has is our premium ancient blue flashes that we sell. Do you think that'd be a good pairing, or do you think you should look somewhere or look at another set?
For formal wear, yes. Outside, I would say yes. Flashes are required, so to speak. I'll take the cue of the British military. The British military wear the Black Watch tartan, and they wear solid red flashes. There is no red in the Black Watch tartan, so I don't think it would necessarily be horrible to wear ancient blue, flashes with a Black Watch kilt. It wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. What I would say is I would try to incorporate a little bit of light blue somewhere else in the outfit. If you have light blue, like cufflinks with a light blue design on it, or if you have a light blue bow tie or something like that, it would kind of help set that off a little bit and help, draw your eye to that color and kind of make it look like you're color coordinating versus just slapping on a pair of ancient blue flashes because that's all you had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we actually had somebody ask a related question to that a while back. Do flashes and ties have to match? Is that a rule? And I think the answer was going to be, it's not a rule, but it can be a nice way to tie the top and the bottom of the outfit together. you could possibly consider wearing just the elastic portion of the flashes to keep the hose up and foregoing the flashes. But people who know Highland dress will think it looks a little bit odd. Unless the hose are really, really flashy and would look amazing without flashes. Like Argyll hose, maybe you could do it. But for the most part, you're going to want the flashes. So, but they're not expensive either. So, yeah.
Flashes. Yeah, good point. Flashes are an easy way to add a little pop of color to your outfit without spending a lot of money. I mean, like $15 to $25 for a set of flashes. So do yourself a favor, invest in a couple different pair. Yeah. What I like to do, kind of as Eric was alluding to, is match the necktie or bow tie or whatever to the flashes, and either draw out a minor color in the kilt, or in the case of Black Watch, you could wear an ancient blue bow tie or an ancient blue necktie like Eric has on here, and a set of ancient blue flashes, and that would be a really unique look.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
They still keep coming in. Leah's asking, do we sell women's piping vests, specifically on Argyll?
Yes.
Next question.
We don't have them on the website, but yes, we do offer women's vests, women's cut Argyll vests. Effectively, it's just for a little bit more tapered to fit a woman's figure better.
But those are custom order, right?
Correct. Those are just custom. Those do not come off the peg.
Right, because we'll want more measurements for you than we would for a male customer, basically.
Yeah, it's without getting too far into the weeds. It depends on how well endowed the female is. We need a bust measurement, an underbust measurement, a belly measurement. Oftentimes we'll actually ask the female to take a picture of themselves in a form-fitting shirt from the front and then from the profile as well, and we'll send that to the vest maker over in Scotland. We don't actually make the vests here in-house. We have those made by our tailor over in Glasgow. So a lot of the times for anything custom, we're going to ask you, male or female, for specific pictures. That way we can give it to them and try to have it come as close to your physical presence standing in front of them as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Tony is asking, any suggestions for the best way to iron a kilt or a special table or iron that they should get?
How much money do you got, Tony? What we actually have here in the shop are vacuum ironing tables, which actually suck the steam from the iron down through the kilt and pull it out the bottom and then expel it out the back. And we have mini boiler irons that actually, effectively boil the water and then shoot steam straight through the kilt. And they're nice big heavy irons and that kind of thing. But those are going to cost a pretty penny. We're kind of planning on doing a little bit of a video at some point.
Yep.
In all of our free time.
Free time,
yes. We're planning on doing a video, doing a tutorial with a home iron and how to do it on how to iron your kilt on a home iron. Mm-hmm. The nickel course that I'm about to give you, if you get a piece of melamine, which is, go to Home Depot and they sell, 4x8 sheets of melamine, which is basically fiberboard with a hard plasticish kind of coating on it. Yeah. You want something hard to press against. It's not ideal necessarily, but it'll get you by for pressing a kilt. You want a big flat surface that's not going to melt and it's not going to, like plywood, release glue and kind of, get your kilt mucked up. You take your kilt, lay it flat on the large sheet of melamine, something hard to press against. Take your regular home iron, take a handkerchief, a regular white handkerchief, 18 inches by 18 inches, whatever it is, specifically white. Get a little bit wet. You don't want to use a color that could potentially bleed into the kilt, so a white one, and you're going to use what's called a press cloth. You're going to get it damp, and you're going to, line the pleats up exactly perfect, or one pleat at a time if you really want to get, minuscule in your detail. Put the damp press cloth on it, and then hold your iron on it, and you're actually going to press it, putting pressure on the kilt with the moisture and trying to, press the crease in. You can do one pleat at a time. You can do a couple pleats at a time. And then once it is flat, you want to basically lay it to dry and just kind of, air out.
I'd take it to a dry cleaner.
Yeah, or take it to a dry cleaner.
Anything else, Mac?
Yeah, Andrew's asking, do we have any plans to get into the drum market?
Absolutely not. we now the drums are the way
No
giving
insult
you
to drummers.
yes, no insult to drummers.
None at all.
Giving you a little bit of insight to the business. There are certain things that are higher margin and there's a little bit more room for profit, and there are certain things that are not. Musical instruments, there is not a lot of room for profit. There's not. Basically, they cost us almost as much as we're selling things for. When it comes to drums, it's not like a set of bagpipes that are specialty, and there's not a whole lot of bagpipe retailers in the U.S. Drums you can get at any, Sam Ash or Sam Goody or any music store kind of thing. So they will carry different types of drums. So there's really the margins have been squeezed out of them entirely. So it's very difficult for us to enter that market with the very, very minimal amount of stuff or business that we would do in that market. We have kind of toyed around with carrying some drum pads and sticks and a few things that are kind of ancillary to the drum market, but not necessarily drums themselves. At this point, we're holding off on that. That being said, never say never. In 3 months from now, we're going to be ripping the roof off our building and doubling the size of our building and increasing our showroom and that kind of stuff, and increasing the amount of bagpipes and things that we carry in there. So we may have a little bit more stuff there. I don't necessarily think at this point that we're going to be carrying drums, but we're going to be increasing what we're actually carrying in the store. So just keep an eye out.
Does this answer apply to sporrans as well, in case they were talking about sporrans?
I don't. Maybe. I don't really have a. Walton's is the only real source I have for sporrans. Yeah, they make some like professional level ones, but there wasn't a real. We used to carry sporrans in the shop. There wasn't a huge call for them.
Gotcha.
The ones that there was a little bit of a call for were the decorative ones.
Yeah.
They
wall hangers.
functioned in that they made a noise, but they weren't really a professional, like you wouldn't take it to a ceilidh and actually sit there and play it. You'd be laughed at. Right. So those are more, like you're saying, wall hangers kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Shelley's asking, do we make sporting kilts for curlers?
Kilts to curling. Yes, our casual kilt is actually perfect for this.
Yep.
It is a machine washable fabric. It is a very, very hardy weave to the cloth. It's not very loose like some of the cheaper kilts in the lower end of the market. It's coated with Teflon, so if you spill some scotch or beer on it after a particularly rousing round of curling, excuse me.
You do
then
hurling too.
You can hurl too. Yeah, sure, both. It'll bead right up. Any athletics, generally we're going to kind of nudge people towards our casual kilt. Runners, Highland athletes, curlers, all that kind of stuff are going to be great for the casual kilt. And it's also worn a little bit lower on the hips, so it's a little bit more easier to move around in than a traditional kilt that's worn a little bit higher.
Now, didn't we do some for an organization at one point?
Oh, yeah. The National, Mac, what's the initials?
The Grand National Curling Club.
Grand National Curling Club. We actually did a run of PV.
Yeah, we designed. Yep. Did we design the tartan, or did they design it and come to us?
It was a combination of both. I think they had a base that they wanted to go off of.
Yeah, the Grand National Curling Club actually came to us, had some ideas. It was a gentleman in California, I believe, who was a designer, and we kind of went back and forth on the actual design of the cloth. We had it woven up in PV for them, and we ended up, I think it's registered. We registered the tartan for them, and we sell that to the Grand National Curling Club. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Yay.
Yep.
Okay, we got Francisco's asking, what can I get? Here, he's asking, can he get a particular tartan in a set? As far as getting it custom weaving. He's been looking for MacLean hunting in Ancient, but it's not like the sample he has or that he wants that he's looking for. So can he get that done in any way that he would like?
Sure. If there's, what I would say is this, for MacLean hunting specifically, basically it's just black and white and then a green color. So if you wanted a particular shade of green, if you have a sample of the color that you actually want in the tartan, send us a thing, whether it's a piece of cloth, a coffee mug, a piece of clothing, a newspaper article with a particular green background shade, whatever it is, send us an actual piece of the color that you want, and we could actually send that over to our mill over in the UK and have them match that particular shade of green and use that in the cloth itself. Now, having a custom for a single width, one-off kilt just for yourself will probably add to the cost, but yes, it can be done. We can, without trying to sound like we're bragging, we can do anything. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do that people don't even understand are an option. But really what it boils down to is how much money do you want to really throw at it? Yeah. Using this as an example, a custom weave of a 5-yard kilt is going to be $900, and then to bump it up to an 8-yard plus the extra fabric, or an 8-yard kilt plus a couple of extra yards of fabric is going to be about $1,100. If you said, I want a particular shade of green here, match this green on this thing, that might actually add another $100, $150 to the cost, because what the mill's actually doing is they're putting your piece of fabric or whatever it is in a box, figuring out exactly the dyes that would be needed to create that. Then they're going to a yarn spinner and a dye house and saying, okay, I want to dye just X amount of kilos of yarn in this particular shade, and they're just weaving it for you. So if they have to buy 10, I don't know, I'm making up numbers, 10 kilos, but your 10 yards of fabric only uses 2 kilos, you're actually buying the entire thing. You don't get it, but you're buying it from the mill. They're going to charge you for it because they have to buy that much, and then they're going to use that to weave your actual cloth. So there's costs associated on the back end that most customers don't think about or understand because they don't know the entire process, soup to nuts. And that's kind of what we try to do, is kind of shed a spotlight on things that you may not even consider when you're doing a custom project like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't keep a whole rainbow, like Pantone color booklet of yarn at a mill. They have a set range that they've decided are the best selling and the most convenient for them to use for their products, and they have that. And to deviate from that is a special project.
Yeah. Anything custom or special is going to cost more money.
Yeah. That's life.
Yep, pretty much.
That said, write us and we'd be happy to help.
Yep.
All right, Rick bought a 5-yard Ayrshire kilt from us last spring.
Burns country.
And unfortunately never thought about his wife. She'd like to wear something to complement his kilt. She's thinking a scarf. Any other ideas?
A scarf would be nice. We actually have the Ayrshire. I think actually House of Edgar emailed me this morning. They're out of stock right now. But normally they carry the Ayrshire tartan in a scarf, a lamb's wool scarf. That would be great for ladies. A sash would be good. A shawl would be nice. A shawl meaning a little bit wider to kind of wrap around, keep the chill off in the spring and the fall. A sash for either formal events, or if you're going out to the Renn Fair or to any Celtic festival and you want to match her or have her kind of tone with you a little bit, that would be nice. Alternatively, we can actually do a kilted skirt in it or a mini kilt in it, depending on the age and the comfort level for length that your wife has. So yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that we can do for ladies in the Ayrshire tartan.
With the garments, though, be sure that you are comfortable with the dye lot, the color range that's being done in the lighter wool for the skirt, because sometimes it might be different from the colors that are in your 13 or 16 ounce wool kilt.
Yes, I wasn't even thinking about that, because for Ayrshire specifically,
it's okay.
House of Edgar's the only one that weaves it, and they only weave it in 13 ounce.
So it's a lock. So
yeah, there's only one.
Okay.
It would be a heavier weight kilted skirt. That's why I wasn't.
But
even
normally we need to warn people that like if you have your kilt has an off-white color in it, and then your wife gets the matching tartan in 11 ounce wool, and it's like a pale bluish white, and it's not a perfect match, and you're surprised. It's just part of the industry basically that the dyes are not always the same with the different weights. With the
weights of fabric or across the different mills. The way I parallel this is a red car from Ford is different than a red car from Chevy. They each have their own specific shade of red. They're both red, but they look a little bit different when you put them side by side.
Right.
All right, so Josh is asking, would it be okay to wear a Welsh dragon kilt belt buckle and sporran with a universal Scottish tartan, like a black watch, or would that be a bad decision, or should he? Is it okay to mix and match that type of stuff?
In an instance where you are mixing and matching non-clan tartans, I'd say sure. I don't have any issue with it.
Yeah.
Using that example for a black watch kilt with a Welsh belt buckle and a Welsh sporran, yeah, I don't think anyone would take a lot of offense to that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If you were wearing a McDonald, well, it's not even like you're mixing and matching clans, so I don't know how offensive it would be to wear a Welsh buckle and sporran with a McDonald kilt.
We have lots of people who do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's or an Irish jewelry with a Scottish tartan, because they have, again, it's the American thing of trying to represent both sides of the family. You know, I wouldn't necessarily do it in Scotland, but here in the States, there's more latitude for that kind of thing. Mixing tartans, we don't do.
Mixing clan with
mixing two different clan things.
It's not really done.
Yeah, it's not really
commonplace.
Yeah, or tasteful, I guess. But the universal tartan is just that. It's a universal tartan. You can use it for any occasion, any type of outfit. The Welsh accessories are pretty cool looking, if I do say so myself. And if you don't happen to like or don't have access to a Welsh tartan, there are Welsh tartans, but I'm not sure if every Welsh name is represented by the range that's out there currently. Certainly nothing wrong with using a universal tartan, but showing off that you're a proud Welshman using accessories. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so we got two kilt pin related questions here. Steven's asking about a big baby pin. If we have them in brass, or if we know of somewhere they could get something like that. And then Edward's asking, what is the proper way to wear a grouse foot kilt pin? A toe up or toe down?
Toe down. I think it's toe down, personally. I think it's toe down because and that's reinforced for me by the fact that a lot of time the cap has a gem in it, and if you had it toes up, you wouldn't really see the gem very well, and it wouldn't be catching light. So I think it's almost always down, or even possibly at a slight angle. I've seen it occasionally worn like at a 45-degree angle. But your mileage may vary, but I think that's what I'd say. It's toes down.
I'd say toes down. Personally, I hate kilt pins at an angle.
But people do it. People do it.
Do people do it? Yes. Yeah. Should they? No. I'll stop there before I get myself in trouble.
The word of Rocky.
Yes. To me, the line of the tartan is so horizontal and vertical, it's very, very obvious that you should be going straight down the line.
Yeah.
Some people would actually, when they wear the kilt pin, cock it at a 45-degree angle or 30-degree angle kind of thing. Mm. To me, it's just... being someone who's, mildly OCD kind of mentality, it bothers me to see something, that is that vertical and then just, slightly askew. I agree with Eric that the grouse feet that I've seen on kilts, which is a very, very traditional kilt pin, is usually feet down and then there's the jewel on the top or the silver cap on the top with a bit of an angle. Outward angle, not sideways angle.
Right.
For the big, baby diaper kilt pin.
Blanket pin.
Yes, blanket pin. We occasionally get them here in the shop. You can get them at, Michael's or any kind of fabric supply store and notion store and thing like that. Mm-hmm. They're not generally very expensive. They're, $2, $3 a piece.
I would, for that reason, though, I would suggest taking it to the next level if you want to do that and seek out either a vintage antique or a reproduction of a period military blanket pin, such as Mac, behind the camera there, uses for World War I reenactment. They're larger and bulkier, and you've got that extra gravitas of it being a piece of military history there. That's how I would play it if I was going to use a military blanket pin. Actually get a military blanket pin.
When you said you were going to take it to the next level, I honestly thought you were going to say that they should bedazzle it.
No.
Bedazzled kilt pin, some little charms hanging down.
Well, it would offer the element of surprise.
I don't know why my brain thinks of these things.
I don't either. I think it's got to be the coffee and the whiskey combination.
Coffee, scotch, and breath mints. Yes.
Blah.
It's a cornucopia of flavors going on in my mouth right now.
Just give me the haggis back. You don't deserve any more. Do you have anything more, Mac?
Yes.
We got a lot of questions today.
Yeah, thank you guys for all the questions.
Appreciate it. I got this whole list of questions here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get to any of them.
So Scott is asking, are stitched creases an option, and do they cheapen the look of the kilt? I think his meaning is like the perma pleats we used to put in our casual kilts.
Or like
Stitched
Utility Kilt
creases.
uses.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Right,
think that's...
right. If we're inferring correctly, he's talking about actually sewing, putting a thin line of sewing down the very, very edge of every single pleat in a material like cotton, like Utility Kilt uses. Yes, they are necessary, and yes, that would save you a ton of time in ironing and that kind of thing. We used to do that way back in 2005, 6, 7 when we started the company. Well, 3, but when we started the company, we used to do that, and we found that the material we use for the polyviscose fabric, and especially for wool as well, takes a crease very, very well. So it doesn't necessarily need to have the sewing down the edge of the pleat. And at that point in our growth, basically we kind of came down to an aspect of I remember having a meeting with Kelly and with Mac at that point and saying, okay, the cost of cloth has gone up and we have all these extra expenses. Do we make the kilt faster? How do we do that? Or do we raise the prices? And rather than raise the prices, as Mac will remember, we decided, no, we want to keep the price where it is. And we ended up just figuring, okay, the easiest thing to cut out of the process that didn't really add much value to the kilt was actually sewing down the very edge of each pleat in our casual kilt. We only ever did it in the casual model, but it doesn't add a lot of value for the amount of time it takes to actually do. So ultimately, back to the main point, if your kilt is made of cotton or something, when you wash it, it's going to just, become a tutu and just kind of poof. And you're going to have a really difficult time ironing it, then yes, I would say it is worth, on a utility kilt or something like that, having the edges sewn down, which they do typically. On a polyviscose kilt, which will hold its pleat even after throwing in the washing machine, then you don't really need it.
Easy.
All right.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Done.
So David is asking, why are kilts measured in yards? Is there a significant reason for that? Not meters, just yards?
I was going to say, as opposed to meters?
Is there...
Because damn the imperialists.
Or is there more of a historic value to that, where certain things were made in this amount of yardage and it just kind of stuck?
That's actually a great question. I have no idea. The mills, when we buy cloth, we have to specify whether we're talking about yards or meters. When I'm ordering, for an 8-yard kilt, for instance, I will order 4 yards of cloth double width, and I always make sure I'm saying yards. And when I get my invoice back from the mill, it'll say 3.7 meters, which is 4 yards. So I find it amusing in the same way that you do, or confusing and amusing, that the mill is billing us in meters, yet when we order kilts, we're ordering, the material in yards, and when kilt makers are making kilts, we're talking about it in yards. And generally in the UK, they do things in meters and centimeters and kilometers and all that metric crap. The raw America. So it's, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just kind of how it was done, and it was, legacy for the industry.
I'd say it's legacy terminology. I mean, because obviously, prior to the metric system, it was yards. You knew that you took a certain average amount of yardage to cover the average person. Whether you're talking about great kilts back in the old times, or the amount of fabric needed to make, a modern kilt or pre-modern kilt, short kilt, yards were what you were working in. So, I'm sure they knew 100 to 150 years ago, like we do now, that an 8-yard kilt might actually be a slightly different measurement than actually 8 yards based on the size of the person who you're making it for. But it became the shorthand, it became the jargon, and then it became tradition. And it's easier shorthand for everybody to remember than saying a 4.2 meter kilt, which is not nearly as fun to say.
No, and well, an 8-yard kilt will be 3.7 or 7.4.
You get my point.
Yes. I would like 74 decimeters of your finest cloth.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Only
those French kilts.
That's you actually touching on another point, kind of as a tangent, that an 8-yard kilt, what most kilt companies will call an 8-yard kilt, if you're an average size guy of hips up to 46 and a half, will be 8 yards of cloth. Mm-hmm. If you are a 47 to 56 and a half hip measurement, you're generally going to be a 9-yard kilt. Some companies will actually make the differentiator and say, okay, you're getting a 9-yard kilt, not an 8-yard kilt. For our mileage, or for our money, it's a bit confusing to customers to try to explain the reasons why and kind of go into it. So for us on our website, we just have, our 5-yard kilts, our 8-yard kilts, etc. But if you are a 47-inch hip ordering a 5-yard kilt, it's actually going to be 6 yards. So you're getting more value for your money based on the name. Same thing for an 8-yard kilt. You're actually going to get a 9-yard kilt if your hips are 47 to 57. But we're still calling it an 8-yard kilt, but in reality, you're getting a little bit of extra cloth in there.
It's shorthand, and it's come to symbolize more than the actual yardage. Also, I mean, when you think of an 8-yard kilt, it carries with it the meaning that it is a heavier kilt, a thicker kilt, a more traditional kilt that's going to have more of a swing to it. It's going to move better, as opposed to a 5-yard kilt. It's going to be a lighter kilt. I mean, we could just as easily call them traditional kilts or heavyweight kilts and lightweight kilts or day kilts or something like that. But using the yardage gives you extra meaning. It gives you implications which are useful.
The 5-yard kilt, we are one of the only companies, well, I shouldn't say one of the only. There aren't too many companies that use the term 5-yard kilt.
Yeah. They're 4-yard kilts. Some people say 4-yard kilts, right?
Well, they don't generally say, if you're talking Scotland, they don't generally say you're getting would you like to buy a 4-yard kilt or an 8-yard kilt? They'll actually say, do you want to buy an 8-yard kilt or a casual kilt?
That's what they call a casual. Okay.
Yes, and giving a little bit of context here, back in 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was basically a kilt was an 8-yard kilt. There weren't really other options. Right. With Braveheart and the Celtic revival, as it were, of the mid-1990s, there was an influx of cheaper kilts from Pakistan and stuff like that. And the kilt companies and the mills over in Scotland were trying to think of a way to get the price from $500-ish down to a much more palatable number to be able to compete in the lower end of the market.
Right.
So they would say, okay, we're going to use 4 yards of cloth, not 8, and we're going to use less labor and less resources to actually make the kilt. So they're machine made, they're top stitched, they're sewn much quicker, there's a lot less taper, they're kind of like an off the peg kind of thing, not really any great care put into it. Okay. When we started in business in 2003, we kind of, made our way up the scale of, quality, as it were. And we saw some of what they called casual kilts in Scotland, and I wasn't very impressed for what they were charging for them. So they were still charging, $250, $300 for something that you could make reasonably quickly, and it wasn't a lot of fabric in it. Mm-hmm. So that's one of, I don't know kind of where I'm going with this outside of the mentality of our company was we want to provide a good value no matter what level of kilt that we're doing. Mm-hmm. So 5 yards to us is the lowest amount of cloth that we want to put into a kilt for a good swing and to be able to reproduce the pattern efficiently across the back. And we still put a good amount of fabric, a good amount of labor and a good amount of knowledge into the actual creation of the kilt. I mean, the same kilt makers are making this.
They're not off the peg.
Yeah, they're custom. They're off the peg. They're still made to your measurements. And the same kilt makers that are making our 8-yard kilts are making those as well. So there's still a good amount of, art and care in that level of kilt, not just the 8-yard kilts.
Right.
That was completely tangential.
Yeah, and
sorry about that.
But I guess we're cool. Go us.
Next, Mr. Mac.
RB is looking to upholster his chair with his family's tartan. Mm-hmm. Any ideas on what weight or finish he would need to order?
You want to make sure you're ordering double width cloth. House of Edgar has a Nevis range, which is double width, and a heavyweight, which is single width cloth. La Karen has actually started transitioning from all double width to single width cloth. So you have to be careful when you're ordering. When you order the cloth, whether it's from us or a different manufacturer or a different company, make sure that you're actually specifying you want 4 yards, must be double width.
Right.
That being said, for my money, I would probably do either Martin Mills 16-ounce cloth or House of Edgar 16-ounce cloth. In their Nevis range, it's actually coated with Teflon, so it's a little bit hardier, stain resistance to the fabric, anti-pilling kind of stuff on the fabric, and the weave is a little bit tighter and hardier wearing. Alternatively, there are, for instance, House of Edgar has a separate arm to their company, the Isle Mill, which they do furnishings. So that is half of, or actually 60% of what that company actually produces is furnishing fabrics. So, and they do a good amount of wool, tartan wool furnishing fabric as well, and it's like fire retardant and all the other stuff. So it can be done. Yes, drop us an email and we'll happily hook you up.
Cool.
One thing we've had a couple questions on, and I think we've forgot to do it thus far, is what tartans are you guys wearing?
Oh, right. Yeah. With the Haggis thing, I forgot to do that. It's part of the intro. Back to one of my favorites. Basically, this is the one of the prototype tartans for the Philadelphia Police and Fire pipe band. We helped them produce our tartan and get the fabric woven, and this was one of the color schemes that the color tones, maybe I should say, that they decided to reject, and we had the cloth sitting around, so I got a kilt made out of it. So this is kind of unique. I love the colors because it's pretty poppy. It's pretty vibrant. But I can wear it for day wear like this, or it looks really good with my blacks for formal too. So.
Do you know what that's actually based on?
I think I should know this, and you told me, and I'm not remembering. So
when Philadelphia Police and Fire Pipes and Drums came to us, they said we want to design a tartan specifically for our band, and we want it based on the Federal Memorial Tartan.
That's right.
Which is actually the Civil War federal military tartan designed in 1995 or so.
Yeah.
So it's not like historical, but there's a tartan to honor federal, the federal side, not the Confederate side. So we took that and kind of tweaked some of the thread count and some of the colors to go with the color palette that the band was asking for.
Oh, yeah, you had told me that, and I completely forgot.
Yep, I actually have
Ta-da.
a Federal Memorial kilt myself. As well. So my great something grandfather fought in Gettysburg. So
in a kilt?
No,
there were no kilts in the Civil War.
He was shot through the knee.
Ouch.
And I don't like Gordon's because Gordon was the Confederate general on their side. His regiment was the one that shot my great-grandfather. How dare you, Gordons? But yeah, I actually have paperwork of his from Civil War where he was claiming disability and was complaining that his neighbor, who was less injured than him, was getting more disability and yada yada, and he got $1 a month or something ridiculous.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the Scott Weathered Tartan. This is actually the kilt that I was married in. It is, it's a pretty cool tartan. I wanted something that was in a weathered color palette to match the wife's Stuart weathered stuff that she was, Stuart dress weathered, that she was wearing. So the groomsmen and I all wore the the Scott weathered tartan for my wedding. So yeah, it's actually one of the most popular Scott tartans that we've seen orders for. Is probably the Scott weathered. It just has a nice earthy kind of feel to it, and it still has a reasonable amount of color, a reasonable amount of contrast. It's just a very interesting tartan.
Yeah.
All right, so John is asking on his formal wear. He doesn't like the cream hose, and he wants to know if he can use a navy pair or some other color opposed to just the cream only.
Sure.
Yeah.
The cream kilt hose kind of came in vogue, if you will, or white hose. I'll just kind of broaden it to white. In the 1980s, bagpipe bands started wearing white color kilt hose, and it kind of became a fashion thing for bagpipe bands. And as go the bagpipe bands, several years later will go the civilian market. Then in the mid-1990s, with Braveheart and the Celtic revival, as it were, the I need to be Scottish, I need to be Irish thing, the hire trade, the kilt rental companies over in Scotland were experiencing a boom. So they wanted people to rent the entire outfit, but they didn't want the socks back. So what color kilt hose would match with any of the tartans that they were renting? White. So they started selling you, cream hose with the rental outfit. Yep. So all the guys that were getting married in the mid-90s and late 90s were all wearing a formal outfit with white hose. So it kind of became the de facto formal
look.
Pair of kilt hose. But in reality, for those kind of in the know, it looks a little cheap. Looks a little bit rental. It doesn't look interesting. Mm-hmm. So for my money, for a full formal kind of outfit, I would either wear black hose if you're going to be wearing a Prince Charlie or an Argyll, or a color of hose to tone with the color in the kilt. So, for instance, if I'm wearing a weathered tartan, you could wear a charcoal pair of hose, or a gray pair, or a brown weathered pair of tartan, weathered kind of color pair of kilt hose to match this tartan. For Eric's, a pair of navy would go spectacular. Yep. Again, charcoal or like a Love-It blue, an ancient kind of blue color would go very well. And that would be just as formal. You don't have to wear cream hose or black hose to be formal. Right. That's kind of, I don't know where that started, but it's just not true.
It's people get up in arms about it. I mean, I know there are people who in Scotland who, because the hire kilt is so ubiquitous and formal outfits from hire companies are so ubiquitous that they will say, no, white only for formal. It has to be white. And similarly, there are some people out there who will say that you always wear black. Only Americans wear white hose, or only black hose are appropriate for formal. So there's a lot of it's a very gray area for a lot of people, a lot of misinformation. I mean, then conversely, you have the traditionalists who will say that the only really traditional hose are like Argylls
for formal. Yeah,
and if you go back 50 years or 70 years ago, that's correct. Diced hose or Argyll hose are the formal hose. So, yeah.
Fashion evolves over time.
Jinx.
Fashion evolves over time. So, what was traditional 80 years ago or so in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s is kind of fallen out of fashion. Then it became, the colored hose, solid colored hose were fashionable up through the, mid-80s or so, and then the pipe bands started wanting to wear a solid color white hose. Mm-hmm. So then the civilian market kind of meandered that direction as well.
Right.
So there's no absolutely you must, or there's no how dare you. It's just a matter of your personal preference and kind of where you fall and what you like.
Yeah, I would go peacocky and play with the colors and have fun with it, because that's part of the fun of this.
Yeah. A lot of ado about a color on your socks.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, Jeffrey is asking how you determine how many yards you need for a great kilt. Do we just throw darts at a wall?
Sure.
Yes.
You must buy at least 27 yards, all from us.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
The great kilt, it really, it's not the whole 8 yards. You don't want, unless you are literally a 70 or 80 inch waist, you do not want 8 yards of cloth to go around you. For a great kilt, generally it's 4 to 5 yards for an average size guy. It's a bit of a guesswork. There's no tailoring, so it's just literally how much cloth do you need to pleat up, how deep do you want the pleats to be, and how much cloth do you want to lug around with you all day. On our website, on the Great Kilt page, we actually kind of guesstimate for you and give a waist range. I don't know the actual numbers, but let's say, from 32 to 38, you're going to need about 3.5 to 4 yards. For size 35 to 40, you're going to use about 5 yards, and kind of go up from there. Mm-hmm. So there's no right or wrong answer. You make do with what you had. If you're wearing a great kilt, a couple hundred years ago, you wouldn't be, well, I am a 48-inch waist, so I must wear exactly this much. You're wearing a blanket. It's literally just a length of cloth folded up. So there's no exact right or wrong answer. There's kind of a range that most people find themselves comfortable in, but there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, I would say it is important to note that yardage will feel different on your body depending on the weight of it. And if you have a 16-ounce worsted wool great kilt, it could be pretty darn heavy and thick, whereas you might want to consider a lighter weight for the same amount of yardage, so that's more comfortable, especially if you're using it for outdoor events in the spring through fall.
Yep. The other thing to consider, I'll randomly, go this way again.
Okay.
If you're wearing a great kilt, you may want to consider the mill that you're getting the cloth from. Mm-hmm. If you are on the taller side, meaning you're 6'3" and up, you want to make sure that the mill you're ordering the cloth from has a full 59 to 60-inch width to the bolt of cloth. Mm-hmm. If you end up with, for instance, Loch Heron's double width cloth is only 54 inches. I've had really tall guys kind of complain that it doesn't quite match up enough at the shoulder when I bring everything around, or it's a little bit too short. Because the width of the bolt is as wide as it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So that's a question you want to definitely ask before you place your order, no matter where you place it.
Yeah. But it's basically, it goes by your waist measurement, and your height is the secondary consideration. But if you're not sure about, like you said, like the mill that you should select, let us know, and we'll help you out.
Yep.
Robert is asking if we've seen an increase in kilt wearing, and what do we believe is the cause of the increase?
Yes, we've seen an increase in kilt wearing.
There's definitely an increase.
It is all due to our spectacular service, quality,
and our amazing videos.
Yeah, our amazing YouTube and Facebook videos. Now, I'd say that there's it depends on over what period you're looking. Again, in the mid-90s, Braveheart, the Braveheart effect was a real thing. Like, it really did promote Scottish Highland wear and Irish people wearing Highland wear, across the globe. So there was a real, business needle moving thing in the mid-90s. In the last several years, I'm assuming you're kind of, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, alluding to Outlander. I wouldn't say that we've seen a huge influx of kilt wearers because of that. Mm-hmm. If anything, it's just, we started the business in 2003. Let me go back a little bit. We started in 2003 and kind of watched the Highland Games, progressively get bigger. They kind of crested around 2008, and then the market crash happened, and then there was a little bit of a dip for Highland Game attendance. As a company, we didn't really feel a dip, knock on wood as I say that, in 2008. But we continued to grow through it. There's kind of the way that culture is moving, there's more of an acceptance for outliers, for people who want to do something different, for people of different nationalities, different cultures, expressing their culture in different ways. Mm-hmm. There's not as much of a stereotype to see someone wearing something a little bit different. You're still going to get the stares that you get out, when you're out in public wearing a kilt, because you're wearing something different. That being said, I'll put it this way. I don't get nearly as many comments when I'm out in public now as I did 15 years ago.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely on the rise, in America especially, and has been for quite a long time. It's all part of our Americanness, the salad bowl, if you will, the wanting to connect with something greater than yourself, the need to, experience something and, kind of plant your flag in the ground and say, this is what I am, this is who I am. And where you come from, the garb of your ancestors, of the countries that you came from, whether it's lederhosen or kilts, that's all kind of part of that. Now, in my humble opinion, kilts look a lot cooler than lederhosen, so you don't see a lot of them out at the mall on a Saturday. However, it's all part of the rise in cultural events, whether it's Puerto Rican Day parades, whether it's a Celtic event, whether it's Oktoberfest. It's all just kind of fun and good times experiencing other cultures and what they offer and what they are.
Yeah, that I was going to say more or less the same thing. I think there's been the two trends going at the same time. Basically, there's much more individuality and much more variety in menswear now. And basically, the Celtic revival and the advent of the utility kilts went hand in hand with that. Again, American individualism. People wanted to do something different and have more options. And secondly, I think people are more interested in their ancestry and their heritage and root cultures and more naturalistic culture than they used to be. I think more and more people are trying to go away from stuff that feels plasticky, for lack of a better term, that feels really prefab and cookie cutter. Like go to mall, go to department store, buy jeans, go home. I think more people want a more colorful cultural expression. So yeah, I think it's definitely increasing because of those two factors.
I'll throw three more. The Downton Abbey effect and the historical looking thing. I think that has a real resurgence in smart day wear, not just casual kilts, but smart day wear. The fact that
not just kilts either.
Yeah, no. I'm saying, but it has an effect on this kind of market with a proper British look and tweeds and whatnot, and Harris tweed coming back in vogue. I will say the fact that everyone wants to feel like a special snowflake. Everyone wants to feel different than everyone else, and we all want to wear something that kind of lets us stand out a little bit.
Sure.
And a guy wearing a kilt will absolutely stand out.
Yeah.
Those are other things that kind of get at the whole thing. There's a lot of reasons. You can't pin it to just one reason why there is a resurgence. It's kind of the waves all cresting at the same time and adding to each other.
And the practicality too. The comfort factor and the practicality. The health factor.
Yeah.
It's all. Yeah. So, yes.
Yay, kilts.
That was a long answer.
Yeah, but it's true.
We need to write a thesis or something.
Yes.
When you come out with a book.
The rise of kilts and...
Yes. And something.
Yes.
Any more, Mac?
Yeah.
Looks like we have about 10 more minutes. I guess.
Josh is asking if we sell or can get Sheriffmuir jackets.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Sheriffmuirs aren't something that we carry on the website. It is something that we can do.
Not yet. I'm an advocate for Sheriffmuirs. I think they're freaking awesome. And like we were saying a second ago about individuality, I think they're the next level in America of wanting to do something that looks cool and is different, and you can stand out as an individual. And it's also that retro look. All at the same time. So I encourage you, Rocky, Master, to
keeper of the website,
to please consider adding Sheriffmuirs to our standard offerings. But we can get them.
Yeah, we can absolutely get it. Realistically, the reason why we don't put them on the website is a lot of the customers that come to us don't come with a lot of knowledge. They're kind of looking to us to kind of educate them and show them what to get, and we are more than happy to do that. That being said, there is a certain level of overload of information, and if you go somewhere and it's like, oh, here's your 27 jacket options, some people just kind of like, I need to think about this more. So we kind of boil it down for them and show them specifically the things that are more common. But again, we can get Sheriffmuirs, Montrose doublets. We can do a bunch of different things that aren't on the website yet.
Yeah. Give us an email.
Watch this space.
Give us an email and we can hook you up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
All right. The last one I have currently is Greg is asking for a semi-formal event. What shirt and or jacket would you suggest, aside from the kilt-related stuff? Just the top. We're talking just the top half.
What shirt?
Like a shirt. Like what shirt would be the best?
Semi-formal event.
Semi-formal event.
A standard white dress shirt.
Yeah.
It's there's no big secret to it. If it's, I'd say for semi-formal-ish kind of thing where you'd wear a suit normally, I would say a solid color white dress shirt or a solid color blue if it tones with the color in your kilt. I would not do a patterned shirt like I have on here, or a gingham shirt or anything like that, or tattersall. This would be, I would consider this more like smart day wear, not dressy.
Right. Yeah. In a nutshell.
Yep.
Is that it for now?
That's all I got for now.
Okay.
That's it. That's all you guys got?
An hour and 50 minutes.
An hour and 50 minutes worth of questions.
Dang.
That's it?
Okay. So I will do a question from our list here. Let's
Fair.
see.
So I apologize in advance to people who pre-submitted questions, because everyone who's in the audience kind of took over the feed, which is awesome. So we're going to try to get through one or two more, and then we're going to wrap it up for today.
But remember, we do not throw these questions away. We keep them for future shows. And if you need a question answered specifically because it's on a timeline or something, by all means write us or write me, PM me, and we will get you the answer you need to help you out. So, we're not we're not like throwing these away or anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a question from Drew. He said he was confused as to whether Ghillie Brogues are only for formal occasions or could they be worn casually as well?
Ghillie Brogues are, going back timeline-wise, Ghillie Brogues aren't really what was correct to wear for formal. Traditionally, talking, 1950s, that kind of thing, for formal, meaning black tie or white tie kind of thing, you would wear buckle brogues. Ghillie Brogues were more, smart day wear, suit-ish kind of equivalent. As they became more ubiquitous, and because buckle brogues suck, I don't like them. The Ghillie Brogues kind of became more fashionable to wear for formal stuff. That being said, anywhere where you can wear a pair of wingtips, you can wear a pair of Ghillie Brogues. So if it's with a tweed jacket and vest, if I have a day sporran on, I might wear a pair of brown Ghillie Brogues, and I would absolutely not consider those formal. Brown is not a formal leather color. No. Or you could wear Ghillie Brogues for, black Ghillie Brogues with a tweed jacket and vest, or you can wear it with a Prince Charlie for formal events. Now, casual, it depends on your level of casual. Would I wear Ghillie Brogues with a t-shirt? No. Never. Please don't. A pair of, solid color sneakers or a pair of hiking boots or something like that with a t-shirt, sure. But it really depends on the balance. It's kind of a sliding scale.
Yeah.
So use your best judgment. Look at, think of it in the mind of Saxon wear. Kind of draw the parallels. What kind of footwear would you wear with, jeans and a t-shirt versus what kind of footwear would you wear with a suit or a pair of khakis and a sport coat, that kind of thing, and plan accordingly.
Yeah. Simple.
Yep.
Okay. Dan Duncan was asking us, are there other sporran materials besides leather? And I get the impression he was asking for both a historical perspective and a modern perspective on how sporrans are built.
Constructed?
Yeah, what do you make a sporran out of?
Traditionally, leather. The original sporrans were really just like effectively a leather sack that you wore either on your belt or, towards the front. Well, I guess you would actually wear it on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had the bollocks dagger.
Right. Yeah, it kind of gravitated towards being in front of your thigh, offset by the dagger.
Yeah.
By the dirk. And then eventually, when people weren't arming themselves as much, they started wearing the sporran in front because it looked better.
Yeah. 99.999% of the times they're going to be leather or fur and leather, but it's still leather on the back, leather on backed fur. So if you have fur on the front, it's glued to a leather board, and then leather for the back piece with the pocket in the middle.
So it's not like you take a fur hide and just shave the back. It's actually cowhide no matter what. The fur is totally decorative on most
Cow
sporrans.
leather, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I have seen vegan sporrans where it's made from the faux leather kind of stuff.
Like pleather.
Pleather, yeah, the naga.
Oof.
I've seen a utility style sporran made of nylon and that kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of it. It just looks off. It looks it looks similar to a fanny pack. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. Or hip sack if you're in the UK. Use of the term fanny is not on purpose. But yeah, typically sporrans made of leather, either fur front or just straight leather front, depending on whether it's a day, semi-dress, or dress sporran.
And horsehair as a decorative item,
Yeah.
of course.
Or goat
Now,
hair.
now, is there a reason to choose one pelt for a fur-covered sporran over another? I have an opinion about this, but I want to hear what you say.
I think I know where you're going, so I'm going to try to. I'm going to purposely try to
Let's
steal
see.
your answer.
Let's see what happens. Okay.
Yes, you can. Furs range from rabbit, bovine, which is cow, sealskin, fox, musquash or muskrat, as it's also known. There's a lot of different types of furs. Generally for a sporran, traditionally speaking, sealskin was used. Sealskin is very, very hard wearing. It has a very nice sheen to it. It's soft when rubbed, one direction. The other direction gets kind of prickly. But it's a very, very hard-wearing fur. Same thing with bovine. A lot of the less expensive sporrans and less quality-looking sporrans will use rabbit fur. I personally don't like rabbit fur, and this is where I'm stealing Eric's answer. I don't like rabbit fur because it sheds, and it sheds a lot.
Yep.
And the sides of the sporran, where it actually rubs the kilt, over time will rub bare. We actually had a pipe band who brought us old sporrans that were literally rubbed bare on the sides down to a grayish kind of leather look from where all the fur had rubbed away. So you want to when you buy a sporran, one of the things to consider is how hardy the fur is. Bovine is great. Musquash is great. Musquash is actually very, very soft, and it's a very hard-wearing fur as well. But yeah, I kind of frown upon rabbit fur just for that reason, for the longevity of it. Everything that my mind is always towards: how long is the person going to be able to use this? How good is the quality? How is it going to hold up over time? Because I want the sporran to look as good on year 6 as it does on year 1 if you're wearing it 2 times, 3 times a month. So that's kind of where my mind is in that kind of stuff. And for me, the rabbit fur just doesn't cut it.
True dat. You stole my answer very elegantly, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't go for the rabbit. I would absolutely avoid the rabbit. I really like musquash. Musquash to me is like the poor man's mink. I mean, it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's really very similar, and I'd argue it's actually easier to deal with.
Poor man's mink of a $300 sporran.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's not the same expense, but
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. And you got time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Sure. One more.
Last one.
I'll make it a really simple one. Can I wear studs with a Prince Charlie jacket?
Yes. Traditionally in Highland wear, when you're wearing a Prince Charlie jacket, you wear a wing collar tuck shirt, and there's a placket that goes down the front that actually covers up the buttons, so you don't see any buttons. It gives a nice clean appearance straight down the front of the kilt, or straight down the front of the outfit, and it doesn't kind of compete with the rest of the things in the outfit. You want the attention to really be on the sporran and the kilt and the tartan itself. When you're wearing a wing collar tuck shirt with studs down the front like you would for a normal tuxedo, it kind of distracts a little bit from the look of the front.
There you go.
Would you agree with that?
I would. I personally wouldn't do it. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
Yeah.
Just say no, kids.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Just say no to studs. Unless it's these studs.
Unless you're Chris Gulick.
All right, gentlemen.
I got some whiskey left over for saying goodbye. So.
I got coffee.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the questions. If anyone has any questions that you want to submit for our next Facebook Live, or our next video, as it were, just send them to sales@usakilts.com. And until then...
Wait. I would like to remind everybody, we are going to start doing some special focus episodes coming up. And in fact, I believe there's going to be one later this month. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I believe so.
Yep.
So long as everything gets scheduled properly.
Yep.
But yeah, we're planning on doing effectively teaser episodes. Tentatively, the working title is 2 Scots, 3 Opinions. For those who know the joke,
Yep.
if you put 2 Scots in a room, you get 3 opinions. So we're going to be doing special things where we're asking a question, and we're not necessarily going to give an answer. We're going to ask a question and just kind of give our thoughts on it and get the feedback from the audience at the same time and kind of let you guys add to the experience and have a lot more interaction, and we'll give our thoughts about your opinions on things and just kind of lay it all out on the table and let you guys kind of decide on particular topics.
Yep.
So, that being said, keep an eye out on our Facebook page for that.
Yep.
But
I think that's it.
am I ready now?
I think you're
Can
right.
I test now?
You may proceed.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you for
welcome.
allowing me, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time, boys and girls. Sláinte mhath.